In the New Testament book of John, in chapter 2, Jesus is about to perform his first miracle. And from a public relations kind of marketing standpoint, this needs to be big. This is his big debut. This is his introduction to the world. So it needs to get some attention. It needs to create some buzz. It really should be on TMZ. It needs to be life-changing stuff. It needs to be something that everybody is talking about the next day. Maybe restoration of life or limb or, resurrection right off the bat. Okay, something needs to happen. All right, he needs to maybe somebody who doesn't have an arm, maybe, they could grow an arm like an iguana or something, or something like that. It needs to be big. But instead, it's not so big. It's at a wedding. Jesus is at a wedding. And in John chapter 2, it says this, starting with verse 1. 3 days later, they all went to celebrate a wedding feast in Cana of Galilee. Mary, the mother of Jesus, was invited together with him and his disciples. Check that out. Jesus was invited to a party. Why was Jesus invited to a party? Because he was fun. Because people liked being around him. Because people enjoyed his company. People who aren't fun, people who are serious and dour and just all those things that we think Jesus was, they don't get invited to parties, but Jesus did. Now, check this out. While they were celebrating, the wine ran out. Dun, dun. And Jesus' mother hurried over to her son. She said to Jesus, "The host stands on the brink of embarrassment. There are many guests, and there is no more wine." Oh, he might be embarrassed. Okay? A lot of times we would say, hey, he'll get over it. A little bit of embarrassment, that'll build some character. He'll be all right. But Jesus steps up. Jesus doesn't want this young couple who's just starting out to get embarrassed. So he steps up and he has the people prepare. He's got these stone jars and 6 stone jars. Each one of them hold about 30 gallons, and it's water. And he tells him, okay, take the stone jars and give it to the head of the party there. And they do, and it becomes this really amazing fine wine, and the party goes on. We serve the God who keeps the party rolling. Right off the bat, this shows us that the ministry of Jesus isn't just limited to what we would think are spiritual things, the so-called spiritual things, the so-called sacred things. We like to divide things, and we like to say, this is spiritual, this isn't. This is sacred, this is secular. Jesus comes along and just says, it's all mine. And he just takes care of everything. He gives his favor and his flavor to every part of our life, not just the so-called spiritual stuff. He gives it to everything. He wants his touch to be on everything. Jesus, he wants to meet our social needs as well as our physical needs, as well as our spiritual needs, as well as our emotional needs. And that's what he does in this situation. His first miracle isn't a big, huge thing that rescues millions of people or brings life or anything like that. It just saves a young couple from being embarrassed. It keeps the party going. And it also is a pretty good picture that Jesus, he is the source of new wine. Later on, he talks about not putting new wine in old wineskins. And it lets us know he is the source of new wine. He is carbonated holiness at its very best. And he is the source of life. And he is the source of every part of our life. Not just the spiritual aspect, but also social and emotional and physical, everything. And sometimes, this passage just cracks me up, because I think sometimes we get embarrassed by the fact that Jesus didn't want to embarrass this young couple. This was a miracle simply because Jesus didn't want them embarrassed. And we get embarrassed by that because his first miracle, shouldn't it be a little more respectable? Shouldn't it be, I don't know, maybe in a church and involving something sacred? And we get embarrassed by the fact that it was at a party, at a wedding party, and it involved wine. And I think we get embarrassed by that a lot. Jesus is wonderfully unpredictable, and he refuses to fit in our box. He refuses to be confined. Okay, he lets his love run wild. He lets his miracle working power run wild over every part of our life, and that's a real good thing. Rejoice in that today. God bless you guys. Giddy up.